I do have one more question for you.
Yeah,
Will you be joining the Emerson Rose book club?
I don't know. Should I be?
I mean, it's Emerson Rose. I feel like, for those of you who do not live in Houston, there's a very cool boutique here that now has a home store and is now starting a book club. Very prominent in a few districts like Montrose and the Heights. Super cool spot. I guess a little plug there for Emerson Rose. But yeah, they're starting their book club, I heard.
Well, I would love to. What's another book club? You guys, I am in so many, but I'm down for it. I'm in two in-person ones, and I'm in like 3 different online ones. So yeah, if we're doing the math, that's already like 5 books a month that I'm reading, and I read more than that. So it's like it's a lot. But you know what's another book club? And maybe maybe their book club pick coincides with another book club pick. Maybe hypothetically, I try to make that happen personally because I do that. But
all of a sudden you read one book for 5 book clubs.
Yes.
but you gotta have a lot more conversations, as you said earlier.
There's been some overlap where I'm like, I have my in-person one and we like talk about the book, and then I join an online one that's talking about it, and it's cool to see. I mean, the whole purpose of me starting a Bookstagram was that like I want to talk to people about books, right?
Yeah.
Better than book talk, cool. Which is a thing.
I guess, what are you reading right now? That's an important question. We haven't asked that yet.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of reading 3 books right now, which is I don't love to do. You're not a serial
killer. You're a serial reader.
I am. I'm a book juggler is what I say.
Oh, okay.
But I have a memoir. It's called Crying in H Mart. It's about it's a memoir from a young woman who it's mostly about her relationship with her mother, who passed away when she was 25. And so it's like looking at her kind of life with her mother as a second generation American. So it's very good. Highly recommend. I think I'm gonna cry in it, but we'll see. I cry in books. It happens a lot, not in my real life, but in books. And then I'm reading a book.
I cry in rom-coms.
Nice,
absolutely. Just gotta get very emotional.
I'm reading a book called The Island of Missing Trees, which is kind of a historical fiction set in kind of 2010s and then jumping back to 1974, I think, in Cyprus, which is a time of political division between the Turks and the Greeks. And it's kind of like this Romeo and Juliet, this couple of from different sides of the island, finding each other and falling in love, and then dealing with the civil unrest. And one of the perspectives of the book is a fig tree. So it's a tree's perspective on both the more recent timeline and the past timeline. So good, so well written.
I love figs.
Yes, it's really good. And then the last one I'm reading is called Davashastri's Last Day, and it's about a kind of matriarch, millionaire, celebrity philanthropist kind of thing, who's dying and just decides that she's going to go out on her own terms and has a last day. I'm very early on in that one, so excited to see where it goes. But those are my 3 books that I'm like stressing about reading, and all 3 are for book clubs. So
the pressure's on.
Yes.
Next episode, I want to ask more about like how you feel like that's shaping your mindset differently with the type of content that you're reading.
So much. Even like I don't just read thrillers otherwise, because that would shape my mind too much. But like no, I love the fact that we have this world of fiction that can expose us to real worlds and real types of environments that people are living in. Like, did I know anything about Cyprus and the Turks and the Greeks in the 1970s before picking up this book? Absolutely not. So now I'm just like exposed to this whole new world. It's great.
Powerful.
Reading is powerful.
Reading is powerful. Do you audiobook as well, or you stick to the paperback?
Yes. So I usually do my nonfiction on audio, but every once in a while I'll get like a book in both formats so I can listen sometimes and read the others.
Yeah, that's cool. Scott, are you reading anything right now?
I just finished the Amber Spyglass, which is the 3rd in His Dark Materials series.
Cool.
By Philip Pullman. Real interesting take on kind of traditional religion kind of views. And I'm a big fan of the HBO series that has two seasons that have dropped. The 3rd season is coming up end of this year. And so went and read the book. That is a rare piece of fiction that makes its way into my repertoire. I'm a big fan of industrial history. And so I find myself reading more boring kinds of things about like Rockefeller and JP Morgan and different kinds of things. But that one has been particularly interesting. And then I'm reading a book currently by a comedian, I forget his name, and the title of the book is When You're Engulfed in Flames. And it's just a series of essays that have sort of kind of a comedic kind of angle to them. And they're, so they're real digestible and just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Nothing too deep.
Love it.
Nothing too deep.
Scuba gear on, like going deep.
That's right. That's right.
Sweet.
Brad, are you reading anything?
Dune right now. So
you'll be reading that for a while, right?
Yeah,
It's chunky.
It is an interestingly written book. The style of writing is a little jolting at times with the pauses and breaks and pivots and spins and picking up and slowing down over timelines can be interesting. I actually went ahead and watched the first movie. I'm almost done with the first book at this point, but I finally stopped and watched the first movie just to get a little more context because I was starting to get kind of confused. I was like, there's a lot happening here and I don't fully understand it. So I was pretty happy that I at least checked out the first film. But my goal is to get through the series before the next movie comes out, which I'm pretty sure I'll be able to do. Yeah. And then I'm reading A Promised Land, Barack Obama's book, which I love his voice, and I'm doing it on it's cool
audio
Apple Books. But yeah, I'm doing the audio version, and so it's been interesting just hearing like from someone's perspective things that I observed as a citizen of the country, like just how differently things might have been compared to how I perceive them to be.
Something that's totally underappreciated in terms of the
I mean, like,
trade-offs.
because like I think like we honestly that's been the most eye-opening thing is like we see as a society whatever we see on news or media or whatever it might be, good or bad, positive or negative. But then there's all this that happens that we never see or know about. All we see is like a quote unquote outcome.
Right.
But we don't see the decision process and what had to be sacrificed or gained in order for an outcome to occur. Mm-hmm. And then we still typically criticize the outcome.
We'll rail on the outcome.
Yeah, even though like we probably wouldn't have done it any differently ourselves had we been in the situation, because it's a very complex system, and it's been very enlightening to say the least.
Yeah.
I'm almost done. I'm super sad because I've learned so much.
I heard that he was writing a sequel because it does not cover all four.
Yeah, I did too.
I guess maybe 4 years and 4 years, but I don't know how he's dividing
another
it up,
500 pages.
Yeah, no, I think that was so great because it, it humanizes the decisions that were made, and you're just like, oh.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not a super political person, like especially at that time in my life. Like I had no idea. Like I didn't really have much affiliation either way and didn't pay a lot of attention to it. And so now like reading it, you remember these moments and these pivotal decisions that happen in society. And you're like, whoa, like there was a human being who had to like make all those calls. Man, that's a tough job. Like that does not sound like fun.
Yeah.
Two that I've enjoyed that are in that same vein, maybe if you're interested, as you wrap that one up, one's called On the Brink.
Okay.
Which was the financial crisis sort of during that same time frame. And Days of Fire, which was the Bush-Cheney White House.
Oh, wow.
And so there's some pretty
I saw some documentaries
stories
on that. I loved it. It was the Bush 41 documentary. That was amazing. That was really cool. I'm starting to really, I don't know. I feel like you can learn a lot from figures in the political government space.
So I have another recommendation for you.
Sweet. Let's bring them.
It's called Both and it's by Huma Abedin, who is a longtime advisor to Hillary Clinton, like from Bill's administration to and on. And she's also was married to Anthony Weiner, and they have a son together. So
that's cool.
That is so good. It's very long too. I listened to it and she narrates it, but she's also, a second generation American. And so she has this, whole, and both of her parents are, oh gosh, it's been a while, but like the effect that's had on her, being a female political person, like that side of things.
Yeah.
It's very good. And then it tackles her marriage
that's
to
cool.
Anthony Weiner, and that scandal and being in the spotlight.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I studied at Texas A&M University. I guess a whoop is in order. I'm not a very committed Aggie these days.
You said
I'm probably less than a 2%er, whatever that might be. But all that said, I really enjoyed Robert Gates' book as well because he was president of the university while I was there, and then I think got called into service. Yeah, that would have made sense. around the time that right before I had graduated. And so I read some of his book too, and that was super cool. It was interesting. I learned a lot from his perspective as like in the CIA and running that organization and what that was like and advising multiple presidents from different political affiliates. And it's crazy just to like hear these people's perspectives and like what they're doing. So that's the only two I've read. Those are the only two political books I've read, but the ones that y'all have shared, I'm about to check out more and more of this stuff. It's interesting.
I love reading all of these types of books and learning, whether it's fiction or memoir or nonfiction, of like learning. My biggest complaint is that I can't retain every single factoid and plot point. And I'm just, it's the biggest struggle. I'm like, how do I be better at that? I wish I could absorb more information permanently. That's my one complaint. I
would agree with that. I hear Bill Gates does a pretty good job of retaining significant amounts of information as he reads.
And he reads so fast, and
like
I read a lot, and I'm just like, that is insane.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he can read like a big book, like a hundreds and hundreds of page book.
Yeah, reference book, not even like a novel.
Like less than a day.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
I can read a book in a day, but it's usually fiction. And
I am not a fast reader because I'm an overthinker. And so I spend a lot of time like really reading it.
That's why I got to do audiobooks.
Yeah. And I also struggle to focus. I have a hard time focusing. I get distracted really easily. And then I'll read something and be like, wait, what did I read? And I'll go back and read it 8 more times. But then I'm like, oh, well, that was interesting. What does that mean? And like, what does this mean? How does this tie to this? And like, I need to go back and read that chapter again because I missed something in that chapter. And like, it's not always a great thing.
I think that's like
struggle is real.
I feel like I was more like that before, both audiobooks and, regular books. I'm just, the more you do it, the better at it you are. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's definitely that thing. So like
repetition,
when people are like, I can't listen
memory.
to audiobooks because I get distracted. I'm like, yeah, but if you do it enough, you won't, I promise. Like you just gotta, start somewhere kind of thing.
See, I've thought about listening to audiobook and reading the book at the same time to like help me focus more.
I really recommend it because it's both, but I don't do them at the same time, but like I'll get
I was thinking
versions.
At the same time, like read the book while I'm listening to it.
You can, but like,
and then I can't get distracted, right?
I know, but I read way faster than audiobook narration, even like at high speeds. And then I'm like, I'm just distracted because that's not actual words at this point.
That's true.
So I read faster than
that part is true. Yeah, you're definitely going to read faster than you're going to listen to someone talk. Yeah, that's
I can listen to an audiobook at like 2 times speed and still be retaining it. But when I read at the same time, I'm reading faster than 2 times speed.
Yeah, no, I cannot do the multiple speed. I do not enjoy it. They sound mousy and weird. Sky loves to listen to podcasts and audiobooks at like 2, 3, 4, 5 times speed, whatever it is. And I'm like, can we please go back to 1 time speed? Like it just feels unnatural. Like people don't talk that fast.
But again, I argue,
I might, but most
I argue that that's like a learned trait where it's like you get used to it. I have to start the book at 1 speed and you get fast. I'm just saying, I listen to 1 time speed anything, or not anything, not podcast, but an actual, like there's a hired audiobook actor reading this book. I'm like, they slowed that down. There's no way that's somebody reading at this pace.
Okay.
There's no way. I'm like, no way. I have to at least put some sort of speed on it.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It's also really satisfying when you see a book that's like a 10-hour long and then you're like, oh, it only took me 5.
Right.
Just saying. I finished twice as fast because I put it on 2 times speed. So boom.
Yeah. Hello. And quiz me. I know it.
I got this
read every page.
On wrap. I read
listened to every chapter.
And then I went back and read it again and I read it twice in the same time it took you, Brad, to read it once because you do it 1 time speed.
Yeah.
Not that it's a competition.
It's not.
But if it were, you would absolutely win. And I'm okay with that. I'm not a super competitive person, so it's all right.
It just reminds me, my oldest got into the Harry Potter series a while back, and she read all of them multiple times and then got to the point where she was timing herself to read them. And she'd come back and report and be like, hey, I read the 6th book in like 4.5 hours or whatever it is. Like,
that was absolutely me. I've read every single Harry Potter book multiple times, and I would do it every summer. Like that would be my thing. It's like, okay, it's summer. I don't have school. And so, I would read 1, 2, 3 each in a day. And then 4 would be a little harder because it's chunkier, but I would read most of those books. Yeah. In 1 day. I mean, it's a young adult book.
Sure.
Like,
it is.
And you like essentially have it memorized at a certain point. I didn't do this like several years running, but I did it a few years back to back where it was just an escape into Harry Potter world, which is so great.
There was one time I finished a book pretty quickly It was Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. And I like fell in love with this story. And like it's based on the book of Hosea in the Bible. And it takes this like really cool positions in like the 1800s. And it's just about like unconditional love of like two humans and how it like takes them on this insane kind of journey, which actually I think just got turned into a film. It's pretty cool, like a Hollywood type movie. So I'd love to see the movie. But that book I did. I laid in bed one night and I read like almost, and it's a pretty sizable book. I read like over half the book in one night, and I was like, this was incredible. But I also like would take a romantic comedy over a thriller any day. So that's probably why I loved it so much.
Yep. Reading is great. I love when people say, oh, I read this book and it was super fast. I'm like, okay, sign me up. I'm down.
There's like an immediate connection
Yeah.
you can kind of dig into.
Yeah.
It's
Chronicles of
fun.
Narnia always stands out for me. One of the games we designed in 900 Pounds was inspired by Chronicles of Narnia. I've still never finished the series because I didn't want it to be over. I loved it that much.
Yeah.
It was a favorite.
That one's a bit of a challenge because it is sort of like bounces around and there's kind of it's not a linear experience.
Yeah, it's not. I think that's why clearly I like the nonlinear ones between Dune and
I've got some recs for you.
Yeah, I like the.
We'll post Natalie's book recommendations in the show.
We can just post her Instagram.
I know, right? Well, no, but I do have
all
like
the recommendations.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the type of person who like gets really obsessed with a book, and then it's like my life's work is to convince everybody to read it. So I definitely have some of those now.
Great, send those to us as well, and we will point them. We'll point everyone to your amazing Bookstagram, which is a great term. I don't know if you coined it, but it's
I did not. Absolutely not.
Okay.
This world has existed for a long time. There's also a book talk, which is TikTok. The book influencers. I don't know.
Do they read to you? Micro reading.
That's another thing. Like the difference between Instagram and TikTok of like the different ways of approach. But yeah, it's the youths. I would say a more youthful group that is a little more creative in how they talk about books.
Maybe you can help introduce me to TikTok and help me understand it because I do not. I find it
I don't think
overwhelming.
you need. I think that's the thing is that you don't need. I mean, if you're trying to navigate it from a content creation, I don't know how to tell you to go about that. But just as a consumer,
on it,
just as a consumer, just like dive in.
Yeah, I guess maybe I need to.
And like the put your fate into TikTok and they'll present.
I also just don't spend a lot of time with pop culture.
Oh yes. Oh my gosh.
Set a timer. You get a lot. I mean, it's
the first time I downloaded it, I was literally, I'm not proud of this, but like 5 hours and it was like one of those things where I was like, I'm not doing anything, so may as well. And it was just like, I was obsessed with like how funny this content is. And like, yeah, you get like a person dancing every once in a while. You just like keep scrolling or whatever. And then just people ranting about their life. That's hilarious. I don't know. It's just
the parallel experience in my mind was like, I forget, I was probably in like high school or middle school or whatever, like when satellite TV first came out and there was like 900 channels or whatever. And like, you just sort of like channel surfing, like on steroids.
And there's nothing on.
And there's nothing on.
And we're doing air quotes for anyone listening to this only on the audio version.
TikTok is kind of like channel surfing.
Mine
feels like this kind of like mindless, like 2 second like little thing. You get TV Land, ESPN, like you're just like all over the place.
Yeah,
it's really hard. There's no like bookends to it.
I'm not a TikTok generation, but I'm a Vine generation and like YouTube generation, whereas like
Vine
that kind of energy of like, I mean, just mindless.
So, I don't know why I am this way. I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time on social media at all. I just don't.
Me either.
Overly. I don't find it overly entertaining, maybe. And I don't know why. Like Instagram, yes, I'll get on. And I mean, I am a millennial, like, but I
think it's that
I don't know.
There's too many types of, if you think
it's
of
like overwhelming almost.
It is. There's, as a human, you have needs of like what you consume or whatever. So it's like, I think that some social media has tried to fulfill more needs than it should. Whereas I think TikTok is this mindless entertainment value and it has that one need and I can categorize it there. I can go days without opening the app. I could open it every single day. I could, spend a lot of time on it. It just depends on what my need is. But like, I do think Instagram, it's like connecting with your friends and seeing what they're up to. following celebrities and seeing what they're up to, getting information about the city you live in, maybe, or, news outlets you follow. There's so much. And I think that's super overwhelming. And I don't like that. I don't like that there's so many different things on it. So there's a lot of times where I'm like, I have multiple accounts, obviously. So it's like, I'll just go to one account to catch up with my friends and spend my time on another account to like see what books I should be reading and everything. But I think it's a very blurred line now.
And like, it's funny, since the pandemic, I have found myself like really in this place where like just no interest in social media or very little at best. I don't know. And I've been wondering why, because I would say pre-pandemic, I was probably more engaged and more interested, at least with Instagram. Facebook, I haven't touched in like 11 years. I got very overwhelmed with all the content being put on there. And I was just like, there's so much happening on here. I'm going to step away. And I've heard it's changed a lot.
You got to be purposeful about
at
your
that
engagement
time.
with
Well,
social
because, and also I was on Facebook when it was only for people with .edus, and it was a very different Facebook. I felt like there was more, I don't know, discourse. It was more stimulating. It wasn't as mindless as I think it may have become. I mean, I'm not here to like crush Facebook. I have nothing against Facebook whatsoever. I just personally kind of was like, this is overwhelming. I'm going to step away. And I kind of did the same thing since the pandemic with all social media, not on purpose. It wasn't like I was like, I'm going to not use social media as much. It was just like the most natural kind of like slow fade away. And then as a matter of fact, we had a photo shoot at the studio the other day, and the photographer, she was probably in her like 50s. And she came up to me and she said, Brad, I was like, yeah. She said, your phone's been here for 8 hours and you haven't checked it once. She was like, and you're a millennial. It's like, how have you not been like just like glued and addicted to your device? And honestly, I was like, her name was Debbie. I was like, Debbie, I truly don't have a good answer for you whatsoever. Like, I don't know. It was so like unconscious in my thinking. It wasn't even something I intentionally did. I wanted people to have music while they did their photo shoots. So it was a little more fun and exciting. And so I just kind of did. I was like, I mean, I guess I have my watch if like I need something, or like Sky needs to get a hold of me. But I guess I'm kind of glad. It feels a little liberating. It's like my truck getting stolen and not rebuying a vehicle. It kind of feels liberating.
I feel like I hear that and I'm like, that's what a luxury. Because I don't think I could ever disconnect for that long. I mean, hobbies turned social media platforms aside, like my job, where I'm like, if somebody emails me and they're like, hey, this has like this breaking news or whatever, like I've never felt like I could just disconnect in my entire professional career.
Yeah.
And in college too, I feel like I had this like need to be constantly available.
Yeah.
And now I've created a career where I can't disconnect.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
and I think social media is beautiful. Like I am not by any means the antithesis of social media. I freaking love it. I think it's so cool how it connects people and creates voice and platform. And I think it's a beautiful tool. I also think that we can become overly addicted to it, and that can be a little dangerous when it's all consuming. Like I saw a family not too long ago, and I'm sure I'm guilty of it as well. Like there were like 8 of them at a table, and every single human being was on their device.
There's restaurants now that'll come out with
regardless
the basket,
of age,
like make everybody put their phones in, so you're like forced to like have an engaging.
Yeah,
no,
like
you
from like grandpa to dad. I mean, like every single human was on their device, and it was actually Father's Day. We were celebrating my dad's Father's Day, and I was like,
they're probably texting each other.
Yeah. I don't know. It made me a little sad. Like I was like, oh, like we're at a table together.
It is really fun. I mean, I know I'm bad at that too, but like I'll hang out with my mom one-on-one and she'll be on her phone, and it's like I know what she's doing is important. She's not just like mindlessly scrolling while I'm there, but I'm just like, I don't get a lot of time with you one-on-one and like hanging out and doing something we're interested in, and I'm just like, and she'll be like posting our photo onto Facebook kind of thing, and I'm like, I know that's what you want to do. It's like what you're in this
it's like
moment,
super sweet,
but it's great. But I'm like, I'm kind of annoyed, and I'm just like, or maybe it's work or something for her too, and I'm just like, oh, the tables have turned. I see now.
It stings a little bit.
Yeah, but I just think it's like, you can have your cake and eat it too with that world. It's just like be intentional when you put the phone away. Yeah,
it's super important.
No, the kind of content I love music, I love podcasts. That's what I really enjoy. I love audiobooks. Like, so maybe that's more where I get a lot of my content from. And I love reading like articles. I will read articles all night long. I'll just sit there and read.
Yeah.
I'll just sit on Innovation Map all night long. And
Hey,
just
we have
read.
we have this scrolling thing where it's like
Just
you
read
open
your
one
articles.
article and you can keep scrolling, and it's the best thing ever. And they all count for page clicks. So
we
just
call it the infinite scroll, right?
yes,
Dopamine is just all in it. It's beautiful.
yeah.
All right. Well, we should probably wrap up.
This is
We'll wrap for real.
Well, we wrapped
think-
initially. I think it was 103. We're now
Yeah,
at
we-
128. So we wrapped 25 minutes
crossed
ago.
an hour or so.
So we wrapped 25
we'll-
minutes ago, technically.
We'll do some movie magic
but
to
we
make
were all
it digestible.
we were all escaping our phones, I think, and just hiding out from.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It
and
does kinda feel
amazing
like
what
a
happened.
hideout.
We had a conversation. So beautiful.
It was a lot of fun.
Whoa.
We'll have
Covered a
like
lot
the
of ground.
super episode that's available. I feel bad for the guys that are going to cut the 4K footage because I'm sure it's going to be like a terabyte. But it'll be all right.
That's
This
why we
has
have
been
the
a lot of
cloud.
fun. Exactly. Super
Awesome.
fun.
All right. Well, wrapping up, Natalie, super, super exciting to have you on Curiosity with us today. Beautiful conversation, touched on everything and more than my heart could have ever desired and hoped for. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me and letting me rant and ramble.
Until next time. Onward